Well, hello, and welcome back to the crew on Next Chapter Woman, where we have some real conversations with real women about real life in our next chapter. And today we're exploring friendships and belonging, the next chapter circle. So, friendships, communities, and connections that shape our lives in person and online. I decided to add in that
Mm-hmm.
online part because for some of us it is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So today we have Anne and Penny and Janet. And so, what I want to do to kick us off is if you will just say, "Hi, my name is," or "I'm," and then give us a one word, just one word, for how you feel when you're with your closest friends.
Hi, I'm Anne, and I feel relaxed.
Hello, everyone out there. I am Jan or Janet, either works. And when I'm with my friends, I normally feel very happy.
Hi, I'm Pam, and have been sort of spinning around. There's so many words that I could use to answer this question, but joyful. When I'm with my closest friends, I feel joyful.
I'm Diane, and when I'm with my friends, I feel comfortable. So that was the opening round, and now those butterflies are should be in some sort of formation, I hope. So how do we get to this topic today? And I just like to say this conversation grew from the idea that women's friendships and communities can make all the difference in the world, not just getting together in person, but also in some of those online relationships that we nurture over time. So today we'll share how these connections have shaped our lives and how they've evolved as we move through our next chapter. So, round one, personal connection stories. Tell us about a friendship or a community that's had a lasting effect on your life, and also why.
You want me to start off again? I can go into this one. Um, is my what I call my pampering group. We got together during taking a self-help course way back 25 years ago. One of the third level, what's the right word? Third level goals was to take what we learnt in the learning, the training, out into the world. And somebody suggested that we have a group that meets monthly to carry on with what we've learnt and to encourage one another and basically to call out each other's bullshits, because this was what the course was about, on a monthly basis. We called it the pampering group. We each put money in a pot. There were 12 of us, and so every month somebody won the pot, and we had to spend it on pampering ourselves. Because one of the things that we learned was that nearly all of us didn't know what we wanted and how to ask for help, and we very rarely pampered ourselves. But what it's become, 25 years of this group with mostly the same people, is what we would call a self-help group. They're my support. They are all wonderful friends. They are not people I would probably have met in my normal day-to-day existence, even over the last 25 years. But we have formed such a bond of trust, and I feel I can say anything and be valued, and that is phenomenal.
Wow, that's quite an experience, Anne.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhat envious, Anne. That's how many are in this group?
There was originally probably about 15. We came down to a core of about 12. Um, we have between 8 and 10 come on a regular basis now. I mean, obviously people have left for other places. I can't go in the winter time because I can't drive in lousy weather, things like that. So it varies. Um, but we go to everybody's house over that time frame, and somebody cooks dinner, so it's a very nurturing environment. So yeah, 8 to 10 on a regular basis, and little groups of us used to. I used to live in a lovely place which had plenty of space for people to meet, and people in a more local area. I don't live in the city, and so groups of us would then come in locations which were easy for us, that kind of thing, and so have little not spin-off groups. That's not the right word at all, but develop really deep friendships. Let's put it that way, and yeah. But the fact that the core group has stayed together for so long, I think part of what this whole the what's the right word the part of what is important is the commitment, right? So it's the commitment to the people. And that started off as being something which sounds ridiculous, but was actually a new concept for me to learn 25 years ago, is when you commit to something, that's an intrinsic part of your integrity. And that was always the case in different ways with my own integrity. But to do it in a way which is commitment to other people that you're not married to or whatever, or your kids, right? That was, I think, a surprise to me, to learn how actually important that is when you commit to your friends, or well, actually, I think about it, I commit to myself. I commit to myself to give me this gift of being nurtured by other people. That's how I see it.
How do you think that that's having that? Well, that's a big relationship. Not because it's quite a few people, but it's been so long and obviously very important in your life. But how do you think that has, or can you verbalize how that's been a lasting effect? Like, what has been the lasting effect for you because of that relationship?
It keeps me honest about myself, because that's why I go. When I stated to the group at the beginning, I'm here because I want you to call me on my bullshit. Because I'm very good at rationalizing things in my own head, so I allow myself to get away with things. And as I was very much into self-development, things come up and you go, oh God, I need help processing this. It's about processing what's going on for ourselves, and having other people to talk to, um, and being honest, um, because that's what we're about. None of this people pleasing, none of this saying what you think people want me to hear, none of that kind of stuff, because I want them to tell me, okay, Anne, you're full of shit here. And and we've tried men in the group, and didn't quite work out. They can't settle into it somehow in the same way that we could. And I used to have a men friends that I could bounce ideas off, because men think differently in general, and I really appreciate that. Unfortunately, they've all died over the last few years, so that's a bit of a
Oh,
shame. So I'm still looking for some men friends out there, as intellectual conversationalists. Haven't found any for a while.
Well, I'll jump in here. I've been blessed with three sisters, and as any of you can appreciate, if you've got siblings, you grow up in a contentious relationship, and sometimes a competitive relationship. But as we've all matured, because we are all very close in age, we've become really close friends. There's there is something to be said for the history that you share with family and with sisters, because there's just so much background that we can all relate to. But yeah, they definitely, and I'm blessed because two of them live very close by, so I see them frequently, and it's certainly been a blessing in my life. However, I have, through association with work or with sporting, because I'm quite involved in physical activities. And my church. I've certainly been blessed with other relationships, friendships that have just opened other avenues for me, and all of them offer something unique and something different, which I really appreciate and really love. But the one thing I think Anne mentioned this is I've realized you have to nurture friendships and you've got to take the time. Um, it's important that you're there for each other and that you know somebody's got your back. And um, women are much better at that, I find anyway. So yeah, I am very blessed to have some wonderful ladies in my life, and it certainly is a gift. As I've retired now, it's a gift that fills my days for sure.
Thanks, guys. For me, aside from the new friendships that I've developed here over the last while that I've been here, walking the dog mostly, um, I have some long-lasting friendships that have remained and are so precious. Three of them are with people that I worked with and developed friendships with over 40 years ago, and we have remained close and connected over that length of time. And um, so we have shared experiences over the years, and a couple of them we don't connect regularly. But again, if there was any need, if I needed any support, I could reach out and they'd be there. One of them, we connect every weekend. Um, she had a habit of phoning her mom every weekend to see how her mom was doing, and shared that with me. And it evolved into, we connect every weekend. Every Sunday afternoon, we connect. How was your week? How you doing? We commiserate about our aches and pains, and being at this age hurts sometimes, but also the good things that are happening. And it's just so precious to know that these people that I've known for so long are we we've committed to staying connected. It's not just them reaching out to me; it's that it's reciprocal. Um, and so that's just a joy. I can't imagine not having those individuals in my life, and being able to reach out when necessary, or just because I want to. Um, and I have another friend that lives in a different province who we connected on a, I can't even remember what the site was. We were both connecting on a site um, on the internet, and seemed to have similar values and views. And that was about 2.5 years ago. We say good morning to each other every morning. It's just a good morning, how are you? We send a little meme or something. What are you up to today? Um, and then again in the evening, time to go to bed. Hope you had a great day. And we've been doing that for over 2 years. And we've never met in person, but we have these similar views. We're in different provinces. Um, I think we may have, as I'm reflecting back on it, I think we may have met um, discussing breast cancer, because her mother has breast cancer and I had breast cancer. And so I think that was the connection. But we just have stayed every single day. Good morning, how was your day? And good night, how was your day? And it's usually nothing more than that, but it's a daily thing that we do.
So each very different responses actually is that's cool. That's the way she goes. And so I don't know, is there, and I guess I should pose it as a question, is there a difference between having like a friend, like somebody that you communicate as pen, you say good morning and good evening to one person. Is there a difference between that kind of a friendship and the friendship that happens within the group scenario? Jan alluded to it, where she has various groups that she gets together with from church or from sports. And the way Anne described the group as being a very connected group that's hanging in there for a long time. Is there a difference in those kind of friendships or friends that you connect with those ways?
I think the difference for me is proximity. And I'm saying this from where I'm at the moment. I actually left my two best friends about 2 years ago and a year and a half ago. It was no longer working. We had been best friends for many, many years, one of them from the 1980s. And it just, I recognized that who I was then and why I needed friendships then, or the friendships that I had then, are not the same as what I have now. I have different boundaries and different needs. I think my needs have always been the same, but I recognize that I can't tell other people to have boundaries and respect their own values and respect themselves and not do it with myself. And I recognized I wasn't. I was giving away too much of myself with my two best friends. And I have noticed since then what I feel the lack of in the friendships was their proximity. We would visit each other's houses on a more regular basis than the group of friends that I have in the city. I guess it was more like sisters, how I would imagine my sisters could be if they lived in the same country. My sister's in the UK, and they also do not have the same values as me at all. They think I'm a bit crazy. So, so I think for me it's proximity. That thing of visiting each other's houses and stuff. It's something like that. Yeah, being able to call on them anytime. I know I can do that with my pampering friends, absolutely, but I don't as much. So that's what I miss. It's that proximity thing. Yeah.
And I have to concur because I moved away from the city that I'd been living in for 30 years, came here, and it's been 5 years. And prior to coming here, that was a thing we would do, similar to what you're speaking about. We would show up at each other's doorstep with coffee and a coffee cake or something, or just say, hey, what are you doing? You want to go for pizza? And we'd get together. And so that face to face, the big hug, hi, how are you doing? I know where you live, you know where I live. If there's any support that's needed, I know I can call on you. Now being 3 hours away from that, there is a loss. There's a big feeling of loss. Staying connected with them and with the one who I talk to every weekend, that's very special, and I cherish that because I have lost that proximity and the ability to just show up and say, hey, how's your day going? Mine's kind of crappy, or mine's been wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's no surprise because I've talked to these lovely ladies about this previously, but for me, there's nothing better than a face-to-face time together. That's just my favorite thing because I think you as much as this works lovely with the distance, I think you get a much better feeling about their energy, and it's so much more perceptible. So yeah, I'm a big believer in trying to get together face to face if possible, and I realize that's certainly a challenge for some friendships. Um, but it's a way of getting a much better feel, I think, for where they're at, and the likelihood that they're going to be more um, transparent. I think when you're talking to somebody personally. So yeah, that I guess I'm coming from the same place that Anne and Pen are. Yeah.
So I'll jump in and then we'll flip back. I'm going to point at Anne. I'm pointing at Anne because I think she might have something to contribute here. But so they don't, it's just a difference in how we think. And I don't want, I hope you don't, nobody takes it as argumentative because I'm not trying to argue. I'm not trying to change you or me. But I've always had I've never been since I was 25 years old, not beside my mom, not beside my sister, not next to my friends. And so back in the day, we had to do that by phone. And like we didn't get together maybe once a year, I got to see them. And then as I added friends as well, so because I had a close family, I didn't have that real need for that close friend, and I was always so busy, busy, busy anyway. So didn't have a lot of close friends for those earlier stages of my life with young family. You're just busy. But in having that, well, call it an online thing. We didn't have eyeballs, but like I could tell how my mom was feeling. She didn't have to say the words. I just knew. My sister knew when to call. She knew not to that I wasn't going to give her any details about what was going on with the life, but she knew to call. So then, in the age of, well, now we've got, when the wonderful interweb happened, then we get to have eyeballs with those conversations. And so for me, it's yes, it's nice to get together with people with a cup of coffee, but for me, it's just as meaningful to get together either by phone or I love having the camera because that's yes then like as Anne said you can call me on my bullshit easier. You can see my face screwing up when something doesn't happen. So for me it's increased that being able to have that be with feeling rather than having to be face to face. I don't discount the face to face. Certainly, I love that too. As y'all know, I like to go for coffee. I like to get out. Um, so I'm just gonna. And you had some thinking going on as Janet was speaking. I'm wondering if you wanted to share some of that thinking, and if not, that's fine too. Just say no.
Yeah, what I've been thinking around of the as everybody's been talking is the friendships that I've re rekindled. Is that the right word? Rekindled with people in the UK that I knew at school, which wouldn't have happened except for things like Facebook and Find Friend Finder and all of those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And from that has come a group of people who or in my I took geology bachelor's, her geology class at Manchester University. And they've got together and they've had reunions and stuff. I haven't gone, but that group of people sharing the experiences that we had, like when I'm 20 years old, and it's kind of, oh my God, yeah, look at what I did, right? And when I have gone back to the UK, I used to go back to the UK every other year to see my family. and visit my special places in the UK. And I've met up with a group of these. There was a friend that I hadn't seen since I was 10 years old, and we sat down, had a cup of coffee, and it was like, those 60 odd years or whatever it was had disappeared, right? And that is phenomenal. Literally connecting with people like this who I haven't seen in over 50 years. So that has happened quite a lot for me. I am online a lot in various different ways, and I really appreciate that.
And did you, I saw it looked like you were going to talk. Did you have something that you wanted to contribute, or was I just imagining the body language there? I must have been imagining.
Uh, I was just going to mention, Diane, that when you were talking earlier, I put it in the chat, um, and Jan heard it as well. When you were talking last time, there was a bit of an echo. It There's no echo when anyone else was speaking. It was just when you were speaking last time. So that's all I wanted to contribute. I put it in the chat, and Jan heard it, but Anne didn't.
Yeah, I heard it as well. So I'm not sure what that was from, but I could hear it
Okay.
in my ear as well. Okay, so let's just wrap that with what's one thing that you've learned about building your next chapter circle. So consider that you are the age that you are, and perhaps, I'm just assuming, but perhaps you've had to build something new, or if you didn't, well, that's fine too. But what if you did, to build that next chapter circle? What would it mean to you, and what have you learned in order to connect with a circle or with an individual?
I'll start off. Mine is just be yourself, and you will attract whatever is possible in the moment. It's been a wonderful journey learning that.
Yeah,
Yes,
be open, and be open to, I think being open to that. That's what I take from, yeah, from your words, and that feeling sprang forth in me.
Yeah,
Sorry,
good
Jan,
point.
I interrupted you.
oh no, no, I was gonna say for me, realizing that the most exciting thing about new relationships is learning about them. I really and truly love learning about people and who they are and what they are and why they are. And it's very reciprocal because if you show an interest in people, they respond very favorably. I I just find human behavior very fascinating. But I just love people's stories. Everybody's got a story, and I'm always intrigued with their life story and how they got to where they are. And it's always so interesting.
I'll concur with that, Jan. Um, Meeting people, and again, hearing their stories, sharing my story, looking at commonalities, looking at differences. Um, Sometimes talking about travel is a great jumping off point, because I know several people who have done a lot more traveling than I have, but I've done a fair bit. So that's always something that we can talk about at the beginning, and then learn about each other and how we navigated those experiences. Um, but I have to say that I will cherish new friendships, but the old friendships, the long term relationships that I have that have remained, um, they will, I think, supersede any new relationships I develop at this point in time. They're just so precious, and have, they're so long standing and reliable, and new friendships are wonderful, and I hope to nurture a lot of new friendships. But the long standing ones will, I think, remain with me and are so precious.
Just keep adding them to the bag. we got a bag. We need to fill it with as many as we need to be in the bag, I
Yeah.
think. All right, so now it's time for the one line to leave with. One line to leave with about friendships. Go.
I'm going to jump in and say what occurred to me when Penn was talking, and that is trust and how we feel we trust older friendships and things like this. But what I have learned is it's not about trusting anybody else, it's about trusting me.
Learn to be vulnerable.
What's that old saying? New friendships are silver, but old ones are gold.
All right. So we've all got another chapter to write. We've all got our next chapter to write. So until the next time that we get together, I hope that we will all have an opportunity to take some of what we've learned here. One nugget that I came out with was when somebody said about they needed to let go of those friends, a couple of friends. I think we might have all had that experience in our lives. So it would be interesting another time to explore that and the how to do that, and what that experience has been like in our. So we need to let's write that down. We'll do that in one of our next chapters for sure. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on the crew today, and part of the next chapter, woman conversations that are ongoing every week here on YouTube, and also we got a Facebook page as well. That oh no, that dreaded Facebook thing, but yep, you can also leave comments. But do leave a comment. Let us hear what you've got to say about the various topics that we've covered today, and maybe in other videos. We would love to chat with you and get to know you a little bit better, even though it's over the miles. So stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next The Crew episode.
Bye now.
Bye, guys.